Chapter 23. Cassie drew a blank with David Lowry's first wife, who apparently was in Italy on holiday. She was told this by the woman's neighbour after a very fierce interrogation. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" she shouted at Cassie, who was looking into the conservatory at the back of the former Mrs. Lowry's house at the time. Cassie reached into her jacket for her warrant card, only to be threatened by a garden rake. "Not so fast, young lady. Put your hands where I can see them, or I'll call the police." The elderly woman retrieved a mobile phone from her pocket. "I am the police," said Cassie. "Of course you are. Do I look that stupid? You're casing the joint." She glanced at the phone and started tapping at it. "Please, madam, I am a police officer. Detective Sergeant Roden, Cheshire Serious Crime Squad. Can I get my ID out of my pocket, please?" "Oh, all right. Slowly now." Cassie undid her jacket and opened it so that her accuser could see she wasn't toting a gun, and very slowly removed her wallet. "Hello, which service do you require?" a much too cheery voice said from the woman's phone. "Just a moment, please." The woman snatched the ID from Cassie's hand and inspected it closely. "Emergency, which service do you require?" This time the sentence was said with more urgency. "Sorry, it was a mistake." The woman ended the call and put down her weapon, then handed the wallet back to Cassie. "I'm sorry, but you were acting very suspiciously, you know." "You were quite right to challenge me, Mrs. White, Gladys White." After a conversation about neighbourhood watch, Cassie asked where the owners of the house were. "Nothing awful's happened, has it? That poor woman has had a terrible time over the years. First her rotten cheating husband, and then her illness." It transpired that Gladys was no fan of David Lowry, and that after he had left her next-door neighbour for a younger model, the abandoned woman had been diagnosed with breast cancer. "She's fine now, thank the Lord, but I blame him for her illness." "Do you?" "Well, they say it can be brought on by stress. He was much younger than her, you see, only ever after her money." This conversation did nothing to raise Cassie's opinion of Mr. Lowry, which was further confirmed when she struck lucky at the second Mrs. Lowry's address. "What's he done?" the blonde asked as she folded her arms across her chest, a sign of defence in Cassie's book on the Psychology of Human Behaviour 101. At first, Cassie didn't think she was going to get beyond the doorstep of this nice little semi in suburbia. But then she found herself sitting on a white settee with her feet on a white carpet, having left her shoes at the door on the owner's command. "He hasn't done anything as far as we know. We're just getting some background information on Mr. Lowry and a few other people of interest to help us eliminate them from an ongoing investigation." Cassie gave the woman her best non-confrontational smile. "So, what do you want to know?" The voice remained very wary. "We just wondered what your ex-husband was like, why you split up, and maybe how you met in the first place." "He was wonderful at first. I worked for him. Haven't you noticed all his employees look the same? Young, blonde, and naive. Promises you the world. But when he's bored, you're history." Cassie looked around. The small modern house was well furnished and gleaming, almost a show house. "But you got this from the divorce?" "What makes you think that? Why shouldn't I have a house like this?" "Sorry. Did you get anything when he left?" Even Cassie knew that you didn't walk away from a marriage without some sort of payback. "Well, yes, I got the house, but that was only so I'd go quietly. How long were you together? 2 years before and 1 after. Pardon? For 2 years we had an affair and it was great. But as soon as we got married, he changed. Never in, always going off on business or to one of his stupid writing weekends. But when he hit me, that was the final straw. He hit you? How often? Cassie's opinion of this man was getting worse the more she knew of him. Only once. I'm no one's punch bag. That's how I got the house. I promised not to go to your lot about it. I see. And what about his writing career? In his dreams. What he writes is sick. The woman shuddered. What do you mean? All about bodies being tortured and cut up. I read one once and it almost made me vomit. Believe me, I'm well rid of him. He's got a screw loose. The team looked tired. They had been working long hours and weekends, and they needed a break. Good work today, said Wen. We've got a lot more answers and a lot more pieces of the jigsaw. Jake, did you get anywhere with that IP address of the person who sent the photos to the paper? Yes, ma'am. The email came from a cybercafe in the town centre. No way of tracing who sent it, and the paper haven't heard from him again since. But then he hasn't committed any more murders. Yet. Wen gave Jake a scathing look, but he'd only said what the rest of the team were thinking. Right. Becky, can you fill the team in on our chat with Andrea Belinsky, please? Becky scanned her notebook. The family came to England 6 months ago. They lived in a centre for asylum seekers in London for a while, and then they were given temporary accommodation in a B&B at Winwick. Luca had been lined up to do some work for the nuclear power industry and was just waiting for clearance and a work permit. At that point, they would have moved into a house, earned a living, and generally got their lives back. Becky took a deep breath. Andrea's story had got to her. This family, thinking they had escaped from tyranny, coming to a country where they thought they would be safe, only for 2 of them to be brutally murdered. While they were waiting, they were trying to fill in their time. Andrea painted, Katerina spent time reading and trying to improve her English, and Luca walked around and explored the town. He even made a few friends, it would seem. She looked at Wen, who ended the story, and one of these friends took advantage of the situation and killed him and his wife. As Wen arrived home, all the information was still racing through her mind. The Belinskys, the background on David Lowry, and the statements given by various tutors at the Benson unit. It all led somewhere, but it could be up a blind alley for all she knew. She decided to have another word with Jeff tomorrow and get his opinion. But tonight she would have to do some more work and see if there were any links between all this information that she now had. As she opened her front door, the delicious smell of frying onions started her gastric juices flowing. Had she eaten lunch? No, probably not. What she had done was drink too much coffee. In the kitchen, Aaron was making a cheese and onion pie, one of her favourite vegetarian meals. Wen wasn't a vegetarian, but Aaron was, and as he did all the cooking, she just ate what he made. How long will it be? She asked as she hung up her coat and kicked off her shoes. About 40 minutes. Aaron replied, while mashing potatoes to within an inch of their lives. I'll have a quick shower then. Wen headed for the stairs, looking forward to getting out of her work clothes and into some jogging bottoms and a loose sweatshirt. Oh, and by the way, Arwen, Aaron shouted from his place at the stove. "That murderer you're looking for. I know who it is."